Picture this. It's 1973, and Israeli fighter pilots have a problem. Egyptian air defenses are tearing them apart. And the worst part? It's not missiles doing the damage. It's a Soviet radar-guided gun system that American intelligence called the most lethal low-altitude threat we've ever seen. The ZSU-23-4 Shilka. 4 23mm autocannons mounted on a tank chassis with an integrated radar system that could track you through clouds, smoke, and total darkness. But here's what makes this story absolutely insane. This weapon changed modern air combat forever. Helicopter tactics that we use today were invented specifically to avoid getting shredded by this gun. Today, we'll find out how this beast works, why it terrified NATO pilots for decades, and why over 30 countries still use it in 2026. Before we get into it though, go ahead and hit subscribe. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. Let's start with why American pilots called this thing the gun that owns the sky. Vietnam, 1972. Soviet-supplied Shilkas were downing American helicopters and low-flying jets at insane rates. Pilots reported higher fear of the Shilka than surface-to-air missiles. Why? Because missiles gave you a warning. The Shilka? Just instant death from below. Middle East, 1973. The Yom Kippur War. Israeli Air Force went in confident. Best pilots in the world. Complete air superiority in previous wars. Then they met Egyptian and Syrian Shilkas. Israel lost 102 aircraft in the first 3 days, many of them to 23mm radar-guided fire. One Israeli pilot described it, "You'd see 4 streams of tracers converging on your wingman. By the time you processed what you were seeing, he was already gone." The Shilka created actual no-fly zones. Israeli attack runs had to be completely redesigned mid-war. Afghanistan brought brutal irony. Soviets deployed Shilkas against Mujahideen positions. Those 23mm rounds devastated fortifications. But here's the kicker. When the Mujahideen captured a few, they turned them against Soviet helicopters. Moscow's own weapon became their worst nightmare. And that's still happening today. Ukraine, 2024. Both sides are using these guns against drones and helicopters. Footage shows 60-year-old Shilkas destroying modern UAVs that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. A $50,000 weapon from 1965, taking out $500,000 drones. So how does this thing operate? 4 23mm autocannons in a powered turret. Each barrel fires 850 to 1,000 rounds per minute. Do the math. That's 3,400 to 4,000 rounds per minute combined. Over 60 rounds every single second. Each round weighs 200 grams, traveling at 970 meters per second. You're putting a wall of explosive metal in the air. But the real genius? The gun dish radar system. This radar detected targets up to 20 kilometers away, tracked them automatically, calculated lead angles, elevation, windage, all of it in real time. The gunner just kept the target in crosshairs. The computer did everything else. Here's the firing cycle. Radar picks up target. Computer calculates trajectory. Gunner confirms. All 4 cannons open fire. Target gets hit within 5 seconds. And here's what blew Western analysts away. The radar tracked targets moving at 450 meters per second, faster than the speed of sound. The ammunition mix was brutal. Armor-piercing incendiary rounds, high explosive fragmentation. Every 5th round was a tracer. This created a visible cone of fire. Pilots literally saw death coming at them. Now here's what made this different from Western systems. American systems like the M163 Vulcan relied on optical sights. Good luck at night or in bad weather. The Shilka's radar worked 24/7. Rain, fog, sandstorms, total darkness. Didn't matter. Built on a modified PT-76 chassis. Top speed 44 kilometers per hour. And the gyro stabilization was so good, crews could fire accurately while moving at 40 kilometers per hour. Western systems had to stop to shoot. The Shilka shot on the move. Soviet engineers tested this by firing while driving over railroad tracks. It still hit targets. Total ammunition, 2,000 rounds. Crews could sustain fire for 30 seconds before reloading. At 4,000 rounds per minute, 30 seconds is an eternity in combat. What made the Shilka revolutionary? 3 things. First, the integrated radar fire control. This was 1960s technology that felt like science fiction. The gun dish radar scanned the entire sky continuously. Once it detected something, it locked on automatically. Manual anti-aircraft guns hit targets maybe 2% of the time. The Shilka? About 15 to 20%. At 4,000 rounds per minute, those odds become absolutely lethal. Second, mobility and survivability. Most anti-aircraft systems sat on trucks, vulnerable, slow to reposition. The Shilka was armored. It could ford rivers, cross trenches, navigate rough terrain, and it could shoot and scoot. Fire a burst, move 500 meters, set up again. Weighed 20 tons, light enough to be air transportable, heavy enough to handle the recoil. Third, the psychological weapon. The gun dish radar had a distinctive signature. When that alarm went off in your cockpit, you knew a Shilka had you. Pilots had maybe 3 to 5 seconds to react. The visible tracers made it worse. You could see 4 streams of fire converging on you. Soviet doctrine deployed them in groups of 4. That's 16,000 rounds per minute, covering a kill zone. Nothing flew low in those areas. Over 6,500 units produced between 1965 and 1982. They spread to over 30 countries. Yom Kippur War, 1973. Egypt and Syria had about 400 Shilkas deployed. First 3 days, 102 Israeli aircraft lost. The radar-guided 23mm fire was their biggest threat. Attack helicopters couldn't operate at low altitude anymore. The pop-up attack profile was invented specifically to avoid Shilka engagement zones. One weapon system forced an entire military to change tactics mid-war. The ripple effects went global. American military developed countermeasures, better radar warning receivers, anti-radiation missiles. Attack helicopter design changed fundamentally. The Apache's ability to hide behind terrain and pop up? Direct response to the Shilka threat. In Afghanistan, the guns devastated ground targets. But when rebels captured them, the 23mm rounds punched through Mi-24 Hind armor like paper. And modern conflicts still see Shilkas in action. Ukraine, 2024. Footage shows Shilkas engaging modern UAVs. These drones cost $500,000. The Shilka costs maybe $50,000. Why spend millions on missiles when a 60-year-old gun works? Myth 1, the Shilka could shoot down anything, not even close. Effective ceiling was 2,500 meters. Fast jets above 3,000 meters were safe. What the Shilka dominated was low altitude. Helicopters, ground attack aircraft, slow movers. Myth 2, the radar made it unstoppable. The gun dish could only track one target at a time. 3 helicopters attacking simultaneously? The Shilka had to choose. Electronic countermeasures could jam it. Anti-radiation missiles homed in on radar emissions. Turn on your radar, paint a target on yourself. Smart crews used radar sparingly. Quick scan, lock, fire, shut down, and move. Myth 3, it became obsolete in the 1980s. Wrong. Sure, newer missiles offered longer range, but they cost 50 times more. A modern SAM costs $1.5 million. You can fire thousands of 23mm rounds for that price. The Shilka evolved, devastating against ground targets, light armored vehicles, infantry positions, urban fortifications. Armor-piercing rounds punch through 25mm of steel at 500 meters, more than enough to kill most APCs. Recent Ukraine footage shows Shilkas engaging drones at 800 meters with terrifying accuracy. The Shilka became the symbol of Soviet air defense. Over 100 movies and video games. Call of Duty, Battlefield, World of Tanks. It looks menacing. 4 barrels pointed at the sky. That rotating radar dish constantly searching. The Shilka influenced every modern self-propelled anti-aircraft gun. The German Gepard refined the concept. The American M247 Sergeant York, direct attempt to copy the integrated fire control. The Russian Tunguska combined Shilka guns with missiles. China reverse-engineered it and created the Type 80. Over 30 countries still operate Shilkas in 2025. Some have modern upgrades, others remain stock 1960s technology. All still lethal. Ukraine, Syria, Libya, Yemen. The gun is 60 years old and still killing aircraft and destroying drones. African nations use them for border defense, counterinsurgency, even protecting wildlife from armed poachers. This set a new standard for mobile air defense. The Soviets understood something Western engineers missed. Complexity is the enemy of reliability. So there you have it. The ZSU-23-4 Shilka is Cold War weapons philosophy in its purest form. 4 23mm autocannons, radar fire control, mobile platform, simple enough to maintain, complex enough to dominate. It was designed to counter NATO air power. It worked way better than anyone expected, and 60 years later, it's still out there shooting down aircraft and destroying drones. The weapon forced helicopter tactics to evolve, made attack pilots redesign their approach, influenced every self-propelled anti-aircraft gun that came after. All because Soviet engineers understood that reliability and cost-effectiveness matter just as much as raw performance. Here's a question for you. Would you take one modern sophisticated air defense system or 4 older Shilkas with experienced crews? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, check out our video on the ZU-23 autocannon. It explains why the Soviets went with 23mm in the first place. Hit that like button, share this with anyone into military history. And subscribe because we've got plenty more weapon breakdowns coming. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.